5 vegetables. All 5 do better in a pot than they ever do in your ground. And most people are growing every one of them the wrong way, in the one place working against them. This is about 5 vegetables most people plant straight in the ground when the ground works against them. Container instead, and one of them hands you 10 pounds of food from a bag you barely touch all season. Another finally comes out straight, not forked. None of it needs a bigger yard, just the right 5 containers. I grew sweet potatoes in the same bed for years, stopped 3 seasons ago, still pulling vines out of that corner today. One of these 5 isn't just a container swap. It's a spot against my own house that kept greens coming through frost that would have killed them in the ground. That one's last, and almost nobody tries it. Most people treat a container as the backup plan, the thing you settle for when there's no real yard to work with. That's backwards for these 5. I've got raised beds. I built most of them myself. And these 5 still go in containers every year because the ground works against what I'm trying to grow in it. Plant a sweet potato in a bed and you're fighting it for years after you've already moved on. Plant a carrot in clay and you already know what's coming out before you pull it. Here's my filter for this list. Each one has a specific reason the ground works against it: disease, invasiveness, soil texture, cold. And each one has a container fix built exactly for that problem, not a general upgrade. If moving something to a pot doesn't solve something real, it doesn't make the list. Keep that filter in mind, because by the last one, I think you'll agree with me on why the container is the right answer here, not the fallback. First up, potatoes. If I could only grow one of these 5 in a container, it'd be this one. Potatoes are part of the nightshade family, same as tomatoes and peppers, which means they carry the same disease risk. Grow them in your main bed and you're one bad season away from spreading that disease to everything else planted nearby. A container keeps that problem isolated to one bag instead of your whole garden. Then there's the harvest itself. Dig potatoes out of a bed and you're tearing up soil you spent years building, and you're still going to miss some. Those missed tubers keep sprouting for seasons, showing up in beds where you planted something completely different. Digging through a raised bed looking for every last potato is a lot like emptying your whole junk drawer to find one battery. You get it done, but you tear up everything else doing it. With a grow bag, you skip all of that. A 20 or 25-gallon fabric bag, drip irrigation, 1 round of fertilizing when you plant, and that's most of the work. When it's time to harvest, you dump the bag on a tarp, sort through it, and you're done in about 5 minutes instead of an hour of digging. 10 pounds of food, sometimes more, for close to nothing after planting. And if you don't want to buy a grow bag at all, a heavy cardboard box does almost the same job. Line it, fill it, let the season run. By harvest, the bottom's weakened enough that you just lift the box away and the soil falls open around the potatoes. It won't last more than 1 season, but for the price of a box you already have lying around, that's not a bad trade. Once you're done harvesting, cure them in a garage or shed for a couple weeks before you store them for winter. And skip washing them first. Dirt left on the skin keeps them holding longer in storage than a clean potato does, so leave that job for right before you cook them. Sweet potatoes are next, and they're not actually related to regular potatoes at all. They're part of the morning glory family, which means a different set of problems and a different fix. The one everybody who's grown them knows about is how invasive they get. I grew mine in the same bed for 3 seasons. I stopped after that. I'm still pulling vines out of that same corner today, 3 years later, because any leftover bit of root keeps sprouting. There's a second reason containers work better here, and it's the one most people get backwards. You'd think more compost, more fertilizer, more organic matter would mean a bigger harvest. With sweet potatoes, it's the opposite. Rich, heavily amended soil gives you big, lush green vines and disappointing roots underneath. Sweet potatoes actually want low organic, sandy soil closer to what they'd find growing wild. A container lets you build that exact mix instead of fighting whatever's already in your bed. A lot of people growing sweet potatoes never realize this part. The vines and leaves are edible too, not just the root. Wash them, chop them, throw them in a pan with garlic and a little oil, and you've got a greenside dish that tastes something like spinach from the same plant you were already growing for the root. 2 harvests off 1 container instead of 1, and most of it usually just gets pulled and tossed. Same bag size as the potatoes, 20 to 25 gallons, with a small trellis if you want to keep the vines contained instead of spreading across your whole yard. Now, carrots. Nobody really talks about growing carrots in containers, and I've never understood why, because it solves the single biggest problem most home growers have with them. Pull a carrot out of heavy clay or rocky native soil and you're not getting a straight carrot. You're getting something forked, kinked, twisted around whatever it hit on the way down. That soil was always going to do that to it, no matter how carefully you planted. Carrots need loose, loamy soil with almost no rock content to grow long and straight. If your raised beds are shallow, mine used to be 7 inches deep, you run into the same problem even off the ground, because the root hits harder native soil underneath and kinks right where the two layers meet. A grow bag 14 inches deep, filled with a light potting mix, gives the root nothing to fight on the way down. Same trick works here as with the potatoes, too. Line an old cardboard box with a little extra soil packed around the sides, and you've got a container that costs nothing and breaks down into the compost pile once the season's done. One more thing happens here that has nothing to do with straightness. Carrots get sweeter the colder it gets because their sugar content runs opposite to temperature. Grow them into fall and let them mature in the cooler weeks, and you get carrots that taste nothing like the ones you pulled in July. If you've only ever grown spring carrots, you haven't tasted what a carrot can actually do. Which of these 5 have you already tried in the ground, and which one gave you the most trouble? Peppers are the one most people already suspect belongs in a container, and it's true, but the reason usually gets missed. Peppers aren't actually annuals. They're perennials that we treat like annuals because frost kills them off every winter. We plant the healthiest pepper plant in the yard every spring, and every fall we throw it on the compost pile right as it's finally hitting its stride. It's a little like retiring someone the exact week they finally got good at the job. In a container, none of that happens. Before the first hard frost, bring the pot indoors, near a sunny window or under a grow light, cut it back, and keep the soil above freezing. That plant comes right back the following spring, already established, already producing earlier than anything you start from seed. That also saves you a $6 or $7 transplant every spring, plant after plant, year after year, for a crop you already know performs well in your yard. A 5 to 7 gallon bucket or grow bag is enough for most varieties. You don't need to buy anything fancy for this either. If you've got cats, you've probably already got the perfect container sitting in your recycling. Empty kitty litter buckets are close to the right size, they stack well on a small patio, and it costs you nothing you weren't already throwing away. Go bigger if you're growing something aggressive because a plant that outgrows its container will still fruit, but it won't fruit like it could. Last on this list, and the one that matters most, is lettuce, specifically the large-heading types like romaine. Here's the problem with them. They're far more sensitive to frost than loose-leaf lettuce, but they also can't handle real heat either. That leaves you a narrow window, warm enough to grow, cool enough to survive, and for a lot of us, that window is short. The real fix is where you put that pot. Every house has a spot, usually against a south-facing wall, where the brick or siding holds heat from the sun most of the day and blocks the coldest wind. That corner of my property can run a full hardiness zone warmer than the rest of my yard. Frost that hits at 34 degrees everywhere else won't touch that corner until it drops into the mid-20s. Move a container of romaine into that spot and you're not just protecting it from one bad night. You're stretching the entire growing season on a crop that would have been wiped out sitting in open ground. Of everything on this list, lettuce is also the one where the grocery savings show up fastest. A head of romaine at the store isn't cheap anymore, and it doesn't hold up for more than a few days once you get it home. One container against that warm wall keeps producing for months, cut and come again, for the cost of a few dollars in seed. That's the crop I'd point a first-time container grower to if saving money at checkout is the whole reason you started. That's the difference between these 5 and everything else in your garden. Every one of them had a specific reason the ground was working against it, and every one of them had a container fix built exactly for that problem. Most people treat containers like the backup plan, the thing you settle for when the yard's too small. For these 5, the container isn't the fallback, It's the only way any of them actually perform the way they're supposed to. If you want to start this week, start with the cheapest one. A 5-gallon bucket, or that empty litter tub if you've got one, a pepper transplant from any garden center, and you've already got the most forgiving crop on this list running in whatever space you've got, even if that's a balcony or a back step. If this kind of thing is useful, subscribing means you won't miss the next one. And if you want to figure out exactly what size container fits your space before you buy anything, I've got a free planning calculator on the site that walks you through it, links in the description. Honestly, I'd start with the potatoes this week. They're the most forgiving of the 5, and the payoff shows up fastest.